Good afternoon, everyone. How are we doing today? Good? I'm very good, thank you very much. Did we have a good lunch? It was okay. Good. Did we get some coffee? I feel like that's the most important thing post-lunch. Everybody needs to be caffeinated because we get to spend the next 45 minutes together talking about artificial intelligence, which I'm sure it's the first time you've heard that word today, so is that fair? Yeah. Awesome. My presentation is going to be primarily on how you can enter this new AI revolution, this new AI market with confidence. And I believe in order to do this, you need to have a strategy and a firm implementation plan. So I am going to talk about strategy, and I am going to talk to you a little bit about theory, but then we're actually going to get into the tactical execution and how your organizations can go about establishing an AI strategy and implementing whatever use case you're looking to establish in order to derive true business value. So, my name is Nikki Matarazzo. I am an AI business development specialist at Dell Technologies, which means I am responsible for evangelizing the Dell messaging around artificial intelligence, but most importantly, helping my customers and working with my partners to help make AI real. It's no longer just a thought. It's no longer just an idea. We need to actually bring AI into the enterprise and actually start deriving business value. We have been thinking about this for far too long. I've been with the organization for almost a decade. It's crazy to think that I've been with Dell for 10 years. If you would have asked me 10 years ago, do you think you'll be on stage talking about AI with customers and partners, I would have never believed anybody, or I never would have been able to even answer that question. But with a little bit of effort, consistency, and hard work, here we are today. With that being said, prior to joining Dell, I was a professional soccer player, as I'm sure you can tell with my cleats. No? I bring that up because, one, I'm a very passionate football fan, so if you'd like to talk football or soccer after today's presentation, happy to do that. But more importantly, my experience in soccer allows me to bring the same skill sets and same approach as I do into my professional life, which means as a professional, I am both a teammate and I'm a teammate that's here to win. So if I'm working with my colleagues and my partners, my goal is their goal, which is to position technology solutions and services to help our customers meet their business objectives. If I'm working directly with a customer, my goal is my customer's goal. So perhaps you're in the retail space and you're looking to drive greater revenue through online retail. That's my ultimate goal, and I have a foundational belief that you can do that with technology, fortunately. But my end goal is to make sure that when you answer to your leadership team at the end of the year, you can say, yes, this tech investment allowed me to better the company or better the organization. So I'm an extended member of your team. I'm also heavily involved in our employee resource group system. As many of you know, culture is very important, and so I'm currently leading Women in Action, which is an employee resource group at Dell that seeks to create an inclusive environment for both men and women inside and outside of the organization. And I'm very passionate about technology, specifically artificial intelligence. I think we're at a crucial moment in this AI revolution where we have true opportunity to make change with this technology. It's been 2 years since the release of ChatGPT on the market, so we can be the change makers today to have greater impact tomorrow if and only if we take tangible action. And we know that AI is transforming the way in which we live and work. We can think of ourselves as consumers. We're no longer just going to Google to do research. We're asking ChatGPT. We're hopefully no longer manually taking meeting minutes, but we're using a co-pilot or a digital assistant to help us automate some of those mundane tasks in order to allow ourselves to do more creative thinking or more value-added activities. Organizations can do the exact same thing with artificial intelligence. And in doing so, you can drive cost reductions and improve productivity. And it's understood that if massive organizations take this adoption, we'll see savings into the trillions of dollars. But why? It's because we are moving actual work into the machine layer. There really is no option to sit this out. It would be like foregoing the Industrial Revolution or e-commerce. Knowing that we have to do something with this technology begs another question. If we have to do it, how do we do it? We understand that it's new, and that's why organizations are leaning into their partner ecosystem and their technology partners for help. That's fortunately where you find the power of Dell Technologies, because we do have a leading end-to-end industry portfolio that can help you regardless of where you are at in your AI journey. We continue to invest specifically in Dell IP to make AI easier for you, as well as into our software, hardware, and services ecosystem. So as I walk you through Dell's approach to AI, which is called the Dell AI Factory, if you have not heard that term, I don't want you to think whether or not you're going to be using AI moving forward, but how. Think about how you're going to use it as a consumer outside of work, but also in your business. How can you improve your everyday work life, your colleagues, and more importantly, your customers and your clients? Now, I have about 20 minutes or so of content of actual tangible material to present, but we get 45 minutes together. But I did that purposely because I think one of the biggest challenges is we learn a lot, but we don't have a lot of opportunity to discuss and have roundtables. So I'm hoping that we can spend a little bit of time after I present to think about, as a group, what you are doing today, what is your next step once you leave this room. With that being said, we know that AI as a technology revolution does not come without its challenges. AI can be complex. We're needed to invest in an entirely new infrastructure stack to support these new AI workloads. We have a new software ecosystem that we need to learn, and in learning it, you either need to hire for new talent that knows the software stack, or you need to train your people. We also have inherent risk because with artificial intelligence comes the proliferation of data, specifically in generative AI. Every time you inference, you create new data. And as a colleague of mine says, data is your second most important asset in your organization behind people. Data is your competitive differentiator. And so we have to keep that data safe in the world of AI and adopt the same principles as you would with traditional infrastructure to your AI implementations. And then I'm sure you know that with investments in new infrastructure and new skill sets and new software, AI can be expensive. So how can you right-size your investment to get immediate ROI so that you can continue to scale and grow? That's where you can also lean into this partnership with Dell and ITI. In addition to these three challenges, we're needing to really reconsider or rethink the way in which we're building our underlying infrastructure. Of course, Dell is known for our boxes, our compute, our storage, our networking. But the compute, the storage, and the networking of yesterday is no longer sufficient to support these AI workloads. We need to truly rethink the design and then implement. We believe that just like how the Industrial Revolution was fueled by a traditional factory, the AI revolution will be fueled by an AI factory. But instead of creating physical products, you are going to create intelligence. And that it is this intelligence that is going to be your competitive differentiator moving forward. So then what is an AI factory? How can you stand up your own AI factories in your business? We have a plan. We have 5 building blocks, and if you address each of these building blocks, you can stand up your own AI factories. And so the purpose of this presentation is to really walk you through those 5 building blocks. We start with the use cases. The real reason you're using AI in the first place. You're not using AI to use AI. You're using AI to solve some sort of business challenge. What is that challenge, and what is the use case? But the use case is only as good as the fuel to the algorithm or the LLM or the AI, however you want to call it. That fuel is your data, and your data needs to be ready to be fed into the system. The algorithms, the software, the data, it needs to reside on something, so that third building block is infrastructure. Now, we know we can't do it alone, so we need to work with an open ecosystem of both hardware and software partners. And then understanding that there is a talent shortage, there's a skill set gap in the market today, leaning into some of the services solutions that we have at Dell, as well as with our partners like ITI, is going to be integral to have immediate success with these AI implementations. And so we believe that by partnering with Dell and ITI, you can make these AI implementations more secure, simple, and economical. So these building blocks, where do we start? How do we make them real in our organization? Well, at the core of the AI factory are your inputs and your outputs. But we have to start with your outputs. Why are you doing what you're doing? If AI is the solution, we have to understand the business challenge, the reason why you're standing things up. And AI is new to you, and so you may not know that why. So then the question becomes, how do you determine where to start in your organization? We believe that the first step is setting up a steering committee, an AI steering committee of decision makers who are going to be impacted by this technology. Who's on the steering committee? We need representation from across the business because everyone in the business is going to be leveraging and benefiting from the technology. So we need individual contributor representation and leadership representation. We need representation from multiple departments: HR, business ops, finance, sales. Anybody who can see value in the use case should be involved in that decision-making process. So then what are the use cases? What you see up on the screen are very well known in the industry today. Code generation, content generation, digital assistants. That's because they are proven, they are already successful, and we can stand those up for you right now and blanket them across multiple departments, multiple verticals. But what about those niche use cases that are specific to industries? Those specific use cases are going to be how you differentiate from your competitors. Perhaps you're in manufacturing and you're looking at and considering computer vision to help with improving safety on your manufacturing floor or improving product quality. Perhaps you're in healthcare and you're looking at AI to improve patient outcomes and care team well-being. Perhaps you're in education and you now see the opportunity to use AI to address student retention and recruitment challenges. Or perhaps you are in that e-commerce space, as I referenced earlier, and you're thinking, how can I positively impact the shopper experience and personalize that experience to increase the revenue generated every time that shopper comes to my site? These are the types of conversations that need to be happening, and I'll be curious once I'm done here to learn about what you have already done to stand up these decision-making committees and teams, because it's in the use cases that everything begins. But the use case is, of course, only as good as the data that you feed the algorithms, the LLMs. And we have a data challenge today because data is residing in multiple locations. We have data at the edge, we have data on-prem, we have data in the cloud, we have data on hopefully not just laptops. So we need vast amounts of data to train these models to have an actual impact on the business. How do we get access to that data? Our approach with the Dell AI Factory is to bring AI to your data, to minimize latency, minimize costs, and to allow you to continue to adapt that hybrid cloud environment to the AI workload. So we need to start with data preparation, data cleanliness. What is the approach in the model of the AI Factory? We start by helping you stand up a modern data lakehouse. Once we've created that data lakehouse, we need to connect that lakehouse to a software ecosystem for AI and ML workflows, data analytics, and integrators to integrate into your public cloud providers. We understand that public cloud and hybrid cloud is not going away, and so we continue to invest in our partnerships with AWS and Azure to ensure that regardless of where you're deploying your AI workload, you have access to your data wherever it resides. The third building block of our AI Factory is infrastructure, and this, of course, is what Dell has been known for. We came to market 40 years ago with the personal computer and have been investing ever since. But what does it mean to stand up AI infrastructure for your organization? It doesn't mean you have to buy GPUs on GPUs on GPUs, maybe, but that's not the approach for every organization, and every organization is not necessarily ready to do that because of people constraints or financial constraints. So our approach to infrastructure for AI is to right-size your investment today to help you scale into the future. And in order for us to do that, we need to truly understand your organization, the business values that you're looking to get out of this technology. And so the question becomes, how do we do that? How do we work with you to understand exactly what infrastructure you need? And infrastructure is not just compute, storage, and networking. Maybe where you need to start is simply with a workstation. We have a 4-step process that our pre-sales and sales teams take in order to get to what infrastructure you need. And it starts exactly where you start, with the end in mind. What is your use case? How many end users are you looking to impact with your use case? What is the impact of latency when you stand this use case up? Because all of those factors are going to influence the infrastructure that we eventually position. Once we understand the myriad of use cases you're entertaining, we work with you to narrow it down and understand where you begin. The third step, and potentially the most important step because it is the newest step, is understanding your AI deployment model. And in working with a number of customers, we understand that organizations typically fall into one of 4 categories when it comes to AI deployment models, depending on the budget that you have available, the infrastructure that you have or will invest in, and the people and skill sets that you have to put into these AI projects. Perhaps you're just starting to dabble with artificial intelligence. Perhaps you don't even truly understand the value of specifically generative AI. Well, you might be in the first category where you simply download a pre-trained model and you start to inference. And let me tell you, if you have not dabbled with a ChatGPT or Perplexity or a Mistral, go and do that. It's free, the free version, and I have a small story at this point. I was able to use ChatGPT in order to negotiate my current salary with my current employer by putting in a very simple prompt. Negotiate with my employer with these 3 factors in an assertive and kind tone, of course. It literally spit out an email for me, copy, paste, 1 or 2 adjustments, and here we go. I probably would have thought about that email for hours, but I relied on this new technology to automate what would have been this mundane task. Do it today. So you then see the value in this inferencing model. But the challenge with using a pre-trained model, an open source model, is there's nothing proprietary to it. These models that are in the market, ChatGPT 4, Mistral, Llama 2, Llama 3, they have been trained on a vast set of data that is public. And as I said earlier today, your second most important asset in your organization is your data. So then how can you start using your data to power this engine? Well, that's where we have to pivot from pre-trained and inferencing to either retrieval augmented generation or fine-tuning. Most organizations are starting with retrieval augmented generation or RAG because it is the most economical way to bring your own data to AI where the AI foundational training has already been done for you. So how does that actually work? Well, you download an open source model like a Llama 3 and your end user still queries that LLM. But before that LLM spits back an answer, instead of just querying the vast data set that Llama was trained on, it has to first go to a vector database that has been set up on your data, so that the answer that LLM eventually spits back to your user is an answer that lives within the confines, it lives within the environment of your data set. So now you're bringing your data to the LLM. The third implementation model, which now we're getting away from just developers into the need to have data scientists, is fine-tuning. And this is where you're actually retraining, fine-tuning an open model. And perhaps we have some startup organizations or organizations that really want to throw some resources. You may be in the realm of foundational model development. With that being said, with fine-tuning and foundational model development, that's where you're going to need the increase in IT resources, both developers and data scientists, and the financial budgets to address the high compute capacity required in the GPUs. Once we've had this discussion and we know that you're looking to stand up a RAG implementation for creating a digital assistant as an example, that's where our Dell team will then go in and position an infrastructure solution as that third building block. And it may simply be a workstation. You can stand up a RAG deployment on a workstation. Or maybe you do need tens or even hundreds of GPUs, but it doesn't matter. What matters is that we right-size your investment for your current budget, your current people, and we make sure that if 5 years from now you've had incredible success, we can scale with you. With that being said, we cannot do it alone, we need to lean heavily into our open ecosystem of partners. We have a very strong supply chain, and we continue to invest in ecosystem partners that are helping democratize AI for all organizations. And all organizations need something different, and we need to lean heavily into these partnerships. So what do they look like? Well, we work with integrators, we work with colos and co-hosters. We have made significant investments into our silicon partnerships with AMD, with Intel, with NVIDIA. Your LLMs, deciding on what LLM you're going to use, that's very important. So we've developed partnerships with the likes of Hugging Face, a repository for hundreds of LLMs, the same with NVIDIA, and of course, the most recent announcement with Meta. Frameworks allow you to fine-tune your models if you're in that deployment pattern. So we have partnerships with the likes of TensorFlow and PyTorch. That orchestration and tooling layer is more important now than ever before, so with the likes of Red Hat and Kubernetes. And then, of course, we have our data management. And as I said, the second building block of any AI deployment is data. That data needs to be clean. You need to know exactly where it is, what you're feeding into your system. So we have partnerships with the likes of Starburst. Now, it's one thing to say that we have these partnerships, but how do we actually make them real? One great example of we'll say our biggest partnership today is the Dell AI Factory with NVIDIA. The Dell AI Factory with NVIDIA was announced at Dell Technologies World in I believe it was this year. Yes, gosh, the year has flown by. And so this partnership takes the powerhouse technologies from both organizations. What we've done is we've brought all of that technology into a turnkey solution that is deployable and ready to go today. So what's actually in the solution? You have Dell server, storage, and networking combined with NVIDIA's AI accelerators and NVIDIA AI enterprise software, all built on Spectrum-X InfiniBand networking. We can deploy it as an actual rack-scale infrastructure to deploy in your data center today. So let's dig in a little bit further into where this investment with NVIDIA is going. Well, today, our server lineup as it pertains to AI workloads would fall into our XE series. And that XE series has H100s and H200s. Now we're getting a little bit more technical, but trust me, we're not going too deep. The next generation we know that is coming is going to be direct liquid cooling architecture and technology. We have worked heavily with NVIDIA to ensure that we have something ready to go to come to market to address this next iteration of the factory and this next iteration of GPUs. We have a new rack-scale architecture that's going to support 72 Blackwell GPUs and 36 Grace CPUs in the NVL72 architecture from NVIDIA. That's going to come to market at the beginning of next year, and if you are an AI innovator or early adopter, that's the infrastructure that you're going to be investing in, and that's the infrastructure that we have been developing validated designs on. Now that's the architecture, that's the plumbing. But where it gets really fun is in the software stack. So in every Dell AI factory, you're not only getting that GPU acceleration and InfiniBand networking, but you're also getting NVIDIA AI enterprise software. And this is the secret sauce of NVIDIA, because the idea behind the NVIDIA AI enterprise software is to make AI deployments easier for specifically enterprises who don't have the time nor the desire to do all of that foundational work. And part of the NVIDIA AI Enterprise is NVIDIA NIM, NVIDIA Inference Microservices. And these NIMs are available to stand up a multitude of different LLMs in a containerized format, ready to go, deployable for you to start developing in right away. One example of that is the NVIDIA NIM accelerator for RAG. If you recall back to our implementation models, RAG is the starting point by which you can integrate your own data into an LLM, and now you have NVIDIA making it easier for you by having a container ready to go for you. We're going to be announcing additional partnerships in the coming weeks, in fact, in 2 weeks, and I'll keep that a secret for the time being. But our investments into this open ecosystem, it started with NVIDIA, and it's going to continue with NVIDIA because they truly are that leader in research and development, but more are coming and more are on their way. Something I want to call out at this point in time is that all of the building blocks as separate building blocks. That's what we call a buy model or buy approach to standing up your own AI factory. You pick what you need, or you figure out exactly where you need our help, and we can work with you wherever you are at. The Dell AI Factory with NVIDIA and the other AI factories that we're going to be launching with other partners, that's your turnkey or buy model. We want to take as much of the workload off of you as possible, and you are giving it back to the technology vendors and partners. The final building block, as we said, data is your second most important asset. What's the first? People, exactly. People are the most important asset, but we understand that we have all been tasked with doing more with less. Therefore, how do you fill the gaps? That's where you truly lean into your ecosystem partners like Dell and ITI to do as much of or as little of the work as you need. And we can do so in a number of areas. You heard me talking about that AI steering committee. You're getting all of these thought leaders, decision makers into a room. Navigating that conversation, from what I've heard, can be quite challenging. So that's where you can bring in, I like to say, a third-party consultant or mediator, you choose the term. But the goal of these workshops and the strategizing of AI is to help you come up with an AI roadmap for your organization. But perhaps you're already there, and now you need help determining how you're going to prep your data to feed into this AI factory, to feed into your LLMs. Maybe you already have a data warehouse, a lakehouse set up for yourselves, which would be amazing, but now you need to platform the solution and deploy the infrastructure on-prem or in the cloud or taking some sort of hybrid approach. And maybe you're already there, you're already ready to go, but now you're working through the fine-tuning of your system, and you need to lean into those types of services. And then finally, if you're an early adopter, maybe you're already there and you now want to scale. The main takeaway is that it doesn't really matter where you are. We can help you regardless of where you are at in that journey. Now, it's one thing for me to stand up here and talk all about the great things that Dell Technologies and ITI does. But, of course, we want to look into the industry and think, what are these third-party evaluators saying? We were very fortunate in Q1 of 2024 to be named a leader in AI. And in fact, Dell and NVIDIA were the only Tier 1 hardware vendors to be named as leaders because of Dell's approach of bringing AI to data and because of NVIDIA's approach to research and development and in GPU acceleration. I've been talking a lot about Dell and all of the reasons you should continue to partner with us. But what are some of the main takeaways if you take anything away from this presentation? It's that we want to work with you to meet your business objective. We don't want you buying technology just to buy technology. We want you investing in a partnership that will help your business grow and thrive. With that being said, if we go back to the beginning of today, I did speak about that third challenge, that challenge being the economical piece of artificial intelligence. It doesn't really matter where you're starting. Budget constraints are real and impactful today. That is why Dell, whenever we're talking about any of our solutions, but specifically AI, we want to make sure that we provide a flexible approach to payments, and that's where Dell Financial Services comes into the discussion. With Dell Financial Services, our approach is fairly simple. We want to offer you flexibility, predictable payments, and choice. So if that's the thing that's holding you back today is budget, don't allow it to be that budget because we can get very creative with how you make it happen from a financial standpoint. What we don't want is we don't want financial constraints preventing you from making investments into technology today that's going to allow your organization to thrive and excel tomorrow. I want to thank you very much for your time. That is the content of my presentation today. I hope you were able to take away the 5 building blocks of the AI factory. Now, before we go into a bit of a Q&A, and I want to hear a little bit about what you're doing in your organization, I would like to invite Vadim up to the stage. Woo! Yep. Does everybody know Vadim?
Some people.
Some people. Why don't you introduce yourself?
That's a great presentation.
Thank you
very much.
Of course.
Oh,
thank you.
I actually met Nikki last week for the first time in Toronto.
Yes.
We got to chat, and the reason why I'm very, very happy to be on stage with her right now is to announce that we are actually, ITI is one of the first Canadian, I believe the first Canadian AI factory partner for Dell in Canada. So We can help you with a lot of the technologies there, especially on the NVIDIA component as well. So, and when we're talking about getting it ready, I don't know if people participated in our presentation earlier this morning, but we have a full AI readiness engagement that we can help you with. And that engagement can touch everything from understanding if your data is ready for AI, understanding if your executives are ready for AI, but at the same time, we can look at your infrastructure, because ITI, as you know, has a very large set of capabilities. We can look at your hardware data center infrastructure as well as your networking posture to see what are the real gaps for you to adopt AI, and at what level are you comfortable at adopting AI, and helping you build that roadmap, of course.
Exactly.
So thank you very much for coming to present with us
Of
today.
course.
And if anybody has any
Questions
or wanted to have a deeper conversation, feel free to chime up now. Or, of course, we'll also be in the hallways.
There was a lot of content. There has to be one question about one thing that was in the slide, or clear as crystal.
So, if I may ask, outside of the, anybody in this room have an existing AI project engagement? Machine learning, deep science, data science?
Well, right now, I'm from the Montreal College of Information Technology, and one of the things that we're looking at is to replace, or actually put in an attendant to handle not only our inbound sales, so they reach out to generate leads, but also for any incoming calls, when the reception is not there, to have an AI that's actually responsive. Actually tricked me because I thought it was actually a real human being, so I was kind of shocked. So that's kind of the project we're moving into right now, and we're exploring all the options that are out there.
Oh, amazing, amazing. That's digital assistants of all shapes and forms are going to be a big part of our ecosystem, if you will, and of our workforce. So that's really interesting project.
What are some of the challenges that you faced, or did you receive any pushback? Because I think one of the challenges for anyone who has not started an AI project today is addressing some of the concern potentially from clients, from leadership. So did you face any pushback, any concern, and how did you address that? Yeah, absolutely.
Have a lot of free data engineers available to you.
We have a lot. We're generating them as we speak, so yeah, it's part of our program.
Amazing.
So we do have a lot of the projects that they do. We tend to kind of bring some of these real-life projects to our students to kind of get them ready for the market.
No, that's great. In fact, we're currently working with another college in Ontario on a very similar project, digital assistant for students, specifically student retention and addressing that student experience. So I would love to take that. Absolutely.
And by the way, we're always looking for new stagiaires and talented engineers. So feel free to share that.
Pipeline, yes.
Any other projects?
I saw some hands originally. No? Any questions? All right. Well, thank you very much for your time. If you would like to continue the conversation, feel free. I'll be here for the remainder of the afternoon. And thank you, Vadim. Excited for this partnership.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.